love to get 3-4 people going on this thing hard, and man, you could go through the material pretty fast. I was just taking a drink of water and I seen this piece of quartz right here, and I busted it off. I don't know if maybe there's a vein there or if there's just a big rock, but definitely a nice looking piece of quartz. I'll have to scratch that around further and see what it is. Just had to come back and check on all the gear, make sure nobody was getting into anything. Sure sucks being able to have that skid steer on the trailer and not being able to use it. Turned out to be a really nice day out. Before I forget, I had to mention that when I was coming down south, I was in a pinch and I needed some miner's moss for my sluice box right at the last second, so I called Fred's Gold Panning Supplies in Kelowna. Said I needed some matting. I was coming through on a Sunday, which he was closed, so he said that he would have his friend come down to let me in the store, and then texted back saying that his friend couldn't make it and he was gone the weekend, so he was going to leave it at his house in a spot. So I came by Sunday, picked up the matting, sent him a text saying that I would send him a credit card number Monday morning to square up with him, and he told me I could just have it. I was blown away by that kind of service like that. It's unheard of to have anybody just give you something for free out of the goodness of their heart, I guess. So I highly recommend anybody from Alberta, BC, the States, anybody looking for gold prospecting equipment, get it from Fred's Gold Panning Supply in Kelowna. Fantastic place. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, and I forgot to mention when I was doing my big rant and rave, so I'm able to dig up this whole entire area by hand, no permits, no permission, nobody can say anything about it. So the only thing that I cannot do is physically get in a little tiny piece of equipment and dig it up. Everything is exactly the same. I'm not changing anything. That's the only difference. So pretty crazy, if you ask me, that a person has to go through all this trouble. I really wish that they would separate major mines to moderate mines to small scale mining. Like, somebody that thinks of a mine, they think of thousands of acres of destruction and habitat loss and people that don't put anything back again, and it's not the case. It's just a hobby, more or less. I want to dig up a little bit of ground, run it through a sluice, put it back, cover it all up, and it's a lot easier to reclimate with a piece of machinery than it is by hand. So there, the rant and rave is done, and we'll get back to sluicing. I think a person could probably do two pits here, maybe a third pit right here, and then along here, or else in that little opening, 2 more pits. So I think a person could do a 5-year permit if he's able to get permission for it without any trouble, not having to remove any trees. Oh, and I also took a stick and I scratched up underneath one of the little riffles up by the sluice box dampening mat and found gold. It's there, just hiding under the black sand a little bit. Well, I'm going to take a random sample pan here of the tailings, and I had roughly about 50 to 60 specks in this dirt when I first started sampling it. So I'm hoping that I have 0 in this pan. The dirt looks awfully much the same as before I put it in the sluice. Lots of black sand mixed into it, so we'll test her out and see if we find anything. I had 20, probably 150 to 200 mesh pieces in the tailings. So it's definitely not a good sign, but I challenge anybody to rerun all their tailings, pile them up big, rerun it, and prove to me that all sluices are gonna lose gold. I don't know how or what a guy could do to capture 95% like some people claim they can catch. Is it like the sluice pitch? Is it how fast you run? Is it what you use for matting? Is it the length of your sluice? Because I've pretty much tried everything. I'm sure there's still a whack in there, but I don't know what the guy could do to catch more. So try run their tailings again. I always usually rerun them just because I can get quite a bit more gold if I just rerun the tailings once more before it goes back in the hole. So prove me wrong, see what you get. Well, there's about a 75 piece pan, one pan. So it's significantly more than what the tailings had in it. Hopefully there's a whole bunch of that caught in the sluice. Well, when we were here this spring, we started to reclaim this ginormous hole that people dug. So we started throwing all these big boulders in, and this summer somebody set up right there and they were at least they were discharging into the hole, but they started to make it bigger there and there. Flame jumpers. That'd be nice if people, if they came and dug, just fill everything back in, start a new hole and just cover it back up. It's way too easy to make the mess. It's just hard to bring it to yourself to put it all back again. That is enough for today. I am pooped. Holy smokes. Quite the fan of fine tailings. Started to pile some of the fines up here. Got a big ring of topsoil. That is a pretty good sized hole for one day. Just going as hard as I could trying to keep up to this highbanker. She's a hungry son of a gun. Just trying to simulate how the highbanker would react if I was feeding it with a skid steer, so I tried to go as hard as I could. I'm gonna go back to camp, make some dinner and relax. Might go for a little walk and check some stuff out. Tomorrow I'm gonna give it one more little run, probably half an hour, 45 minutes or so. And then I'll start packing everything up, and I'll probably reclaim all the big rocks, coarse tailings, maybe this pile here, and then I'll leave the topsoil off, and then if I come down next spring, I'll pick up the rest of these fine tailings and cap her off with some topsoil. Here's a little look at the valley heading up towards the upper claims. That's back towards I was mining, and this is heading up the creek. Really tight little valley, big hills on either side. And this is pretty much the border right here between the two claims. Nice, dense forest.